Hey everyone, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we share with you all of the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining me on this Friday is Dennis Tzeng.
Well, that's not Dennis Tzeng, but
looks
a lot more attractive.
Dennis, you look great
than
today.
Dennis, you've been working out.
Yeah.
You look somewhat different, Dennis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. I am Dennis Tzeng, and I'm just happy that this long week is almost over with John and Wendy out.
Right.
It's been kind of a hectic week, even though it's been 4 days, so I'm happy that as soon as this day's over, we can start anew next week.
That's right.
And we got Jon Schnepp joining us.
Hey, what's up? Oh, it is me. What's going on? Hey, yeah, Campia comes back, man. Like, yeah, I think it's Monday. So, and Wendy comes back too on Monday. It's like Dennis doesn't have to do everything. Actually, Jonathan and Ray have been holding down the ship too.
And the lovely Clarke Wolfe.
This is me. Hi.
Yay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It has been a long week, even though it's been a short week. I am also ready for this week to be over.
Yes.
Okay, after Wednesday's announcement that Star Wars Episode 8 was moving from May 2017 to December 2017, one of the most asked questions was how Star Wars Episode 8 would affect and be affected by Avatar 2's box office, which was set to be released around the same time. Now, it looks like we won't get an answer to that question. According to The Wrap, Fox has delayed the premiere of Avatar 2, and it no longer will come out in December 2017, and no new release dates have been announced. Dennis, what do you think of the shifting of the release date for Avatar 2?
Well, I asked this question on yesterday's movie talk because we talked about Star Wars. Say, was Avatar going to move? You said it definitely was not going to move.
Yeah.
Christian said maybe. I thought maybe as well. I think that when Fox, the studio execs, heard about Star Wars moving into their territory, they're like, oh shit, we better move. And then they probably got nervous. How are we going to sell this to James Cameron? Because they probably went up to him like, hey, do you need more time? He's like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm on set. No, if you need more time, trust us. Oh, and they probably pointed to something that he was designing. Don't you think you would need more work on this? He did this creature, smorgasbord creature, doesn't look as cool as it could. He's like, oh, maybe.
That's right.
Maybe. So that's how I think. That's in my mind. That's how it happened.
Sure.
Schnepp, what do you think?
I like that. The smorgasbord creature?
Yeah.
Don't you need a little more time to develop that undersea world that we're going to? Yeah, I'm shocked that the thing is shocking, I guess, not that they pulled it, but that they didn't announce where they're putting it. Mm-hmm. They're just like, yeah, it's going to appear somewhere magically, down the line. Obviously, the following year. I don't know if they're going to push it earlier.
I don't know. Not sure.
I would certainly hope that they push it earlier because now, we've already been waiting like 8 years to see this sequel, and they said, look, it's going to come out in December. I know November is kind of rough with all the Marvel films, so maybe they can move it even earlier and just pop it out in September.
Oh, we'll see. Clarke, what do you think?
Yeah, I was not surprised about this actually at all, but I agree with you, Schnepp. I am surprised that they didn't say, okay, we're taking it off this date and putting it here. I think, a friend of mine, Spencer Perry from Superhero Hype, I think, maybe, that's probably wrong. But he tweeted yesterday hey guys, here's what definitely happened. Cameron told Disney, basically they were having a conversation. In his mind, James Cameron and Disney had a conversation where they said, we're going to put our movie here. And he said, great, I'll get off of that date. Sure. Yeah. Regardless of what actually happened, I think one of the last times I was on Movie Talk, this came up, the idea of Star Wars leaving or moving to Christmas, which to me is just such a no-brainer in the first place. It's it's staking their claim. What else comes out at Christmas time on the regular anyway? So I think it makes perfect sense. But I'm not surprised that Avatar moved. I think, Avatar is such an interesting case study because I talked to very few people who love that movie, truly love it, but everybody saw it and it made all the money in the world.
Plus, there's a bunch of weirdos dressing up as Na'vi, all blue and tiger, running around at Comic-Cons. Somebody's got to, be that invested in it. It made over billions of dollars, so...
I mean, I really like the movie. I don't know if I love the movie, but I did love the experience. I think that's what it was. People love the experience of, with the 3D glasses and going in. And it was one of the few movies that we've actually seen where 3D is actually used correctly, and so I think that experience was what sold it on people. I don't think it did as well like on a Blu-ray or DVD at home. But none of us here are buying that it's delayed for like actual real reasons, right? That it's Star Wars. I mean,
no, it's Life Day, yo. That's why. I mean, Star Wars basically just claimed Life Day. They were like, remember, like that holiday special with Chewbacca and his family. That's what's happening every year from now on. We're all like, Life Day, son. Holiday special.
I was listening to a podcast this morning and they were talking about the holiday special. It was Brian Fuller on Kevin Pollak's show. It is funny. You guys should listen to that if you want a horrible account of watching the Star Wars special live and in person.
Harvey Korman and Maude, it's all rocking out in the cat. It's like it's almost unbelievable when you see it. You're like, well, how did they even ever think this was good?
How is this a thing?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So where do you guys think they're going to put it, though? I mean, I would say if they're going to delay it, then they have to push it all the way to like a May or June, and I don't know the dates there. They're probably occupied by a bunch of other blockbusters.
My prediction would be that they would move it up 2 months and release it in September, so they get ahead of November and December, and then they'll do that with all the other releases, because I think all the other releases are in the same zone of like a December, which now means they'll be head to head with Star Wars for all three of the films. So I would think that wherever they're going to place it, they're going to place it with the other three, like September. So.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking more of October or November, just because September is usually not a place that people put like big blockbusters at.
I was thinking more spring.
Okay.
I feel like, Marvel especially has started the summer. Well, actually, that's not true. Fox and X-Men, I think, keep moving the summer movie season back farther and farther and farther with March dates and things like that.
Well, we have Batman v Superman over there. Coming out in March.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually thinking some springtime maybe. I don't know what year. I don't know when. I don't know. This might sound lame, but isn't the whole thing about in the environments maybe around Earth Day? Do you think they would ever do that?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Who knows?
All right. What's next?
Looks like Universal's shared monster cinematic universe will be leading off with a new The Mummy movie starring Tom Cruise and Sofia Boutella, and is set to be released on June 9th, 2017, which was shifted from its original March 24th premiere. Early reports are suggesting that Cruise will be playing an ex-Navy SEAL, while Boutella will be playing the Mummy. Clarke, what do you think about the new Mummy movie, and now that Tom Cruise is officially on board?
I think it's kind of cool. I like this idea. Look, there's so much speculation around this shared monster universe. I will say that of most or all of the original classic Universal monsters, the Mummy, I think, benefits the most from a remake. It doesn't quite hold up the way that I would argue a lot of the other Universal monster movies do. But I will say I have a really fond spot for Stephen Sommers' 1999 Mummy.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I thought it was campy, but like campy on purpose, and had fun with it.
Absolutely. And the other cool thing about that version of The Mummy is that it actually pays great homage to the original film. In a lot of ways, it takes the original Mummy movie and switches the A and B story. So basically, instead of focusing on the love story of Anck-su-namun and Imhotep, they kind of put that on the side, and in the new film, it's more of the action adventure. Right. So I love the way that they did that in the original, and now with the idea of bringing it into modern day, that's the only thing that gives me pause about these new Universal monster movies, is that they have said, and who knows, it could change, that these movies are going to be set in present day. And the Mummy is the idea of a mummy and the idea of ancient Egyptian magic is just so far removed to me from like our technology heavy world that I just am wondering, how are they going to do this and make it interesting? Now, with that being said, I actually really like Tom Cruise signing on. I think that's a great sign, because I think over the last couple of years, Tom Cruise has been taking some really interesting action projects. Whether or not they work, up for discussion. But, I thought Edge of Tomorrow was great. Yeah. And it was this inventive, cool, new spin on it. I thought Mission Impossible 5 was actually my favorite action movie of the summer. Yeah. I just loved it to pieces. So the fact that he's interested in this franchise, he doesn't need to take a paycheck. He doesn't need to just sign up willy-nilly for a random franchise. So I think that actually says that maybe the project has something cool going on with it. And as for our mummy, our villainess, she is so great. She was so great in Kingsman. And the idea of a lady mummy is cool. It's nothing too shocking, I think, considering Anoxine Moon, especially in the Stephen Summer movies, like did a lot, considering.
Sure.
So I like this kind of all around. I'm definitely intrigued and I'm curious, but I think it's a good start.
Yeah, I think I like that you mentioned the Brendan. I think it was Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
That mummy. It was like Raiders of the Lost Mummy.
Rachel,
it was definitely like
Rachel
Weisz.
Weisz, yeah.
That's the first time I ever saw her in a
Me
movie.
too.
It was a fun series. I mean, I think they screwed it with the second one with the baby mummies. You know what I mean? It's like it was.
What about Scorpion King, the spin-off
Scorpion
with
King
The Rock?
is so
So
awful.
I mean, all those, but that first Mummy remake was fun, and it was good to throw that action genre. So here we've got this brand new, Universal's been trying to figure out how do they take these famous monsters from the 40s and 50s and bring them into now. And they've done it. They've done multiple tries and fails as far as I'm concerned. Dracula Untold was horrible. I think the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro was horrible when he's fighting his dad at the end. I'm a Wolfman too. And it's like, come on, man. So I mean, what they were trying to do is they were trying to retain the time period of these classics and use that as a way to retell the story, and it's just not working. I think by bringing it into the present day, all of the classic monsters, they're going to have to put a different spin on it. It's not going to work the way these 40s and 50s movies did. You're just not going to attract the crowd. We've already seen all those films. We want to see something new. So I think adding Tom Cruise definitely is a really cool thing. He's a great star. He's a great action star. I don't know what kind of tone they're going to have with it. Casting Batella as the Mummy. Is it a love story? Is it going to be? We don't know what they're going to do with this. We don't know if Tom Cruise is he going to be like this Navy SEAL who's in all of the movies? Is he going to fight Dracula next? I mean, is he going to be in all of the films? That would be kind of cool. Or is he just only in this film? I like the idea though of updating it, bringing it forward. I don't need a mummy matrix. I don't need like something to be involved with the computers or anything. You could keep it straight up supernatural, but make it scary. Give it some update it in a way where it feels now, as opposed to I don't want to see a 1950s mummy. Why? I've already seen it. And I've already seen the action mummy that, like you mentioned, from the 90s. So they have to update this franchise, and they have to do it in a smart way and put everything together. So if they're going to make the new Universal monsters, that make them relevant. So
for me, this news kind of hit me out of nowhere because I think I probably was on vacation when the rumors were swirling around. What was it, a couple months ago? So when I heard about it yesterday, I was like, what? Tom Cruise in The Mummy? And then I kind of read more about it, and I thought about it, and it's like, okay, now I kind of see where they're going. They're basically turning this thing into an action. There's nothing horror or suspense or scary about this whole cinematic universe of monsters. It's going to be an action thing. If you're going to get Tom Cruise in there, what has he been doing lately? Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow. So now he's rumored to play an ex-Navy SEAL. That's not confirmed. But if they're going to get someone like him, I think that's where they're going, and maybe he will be in every movie, or maybe they'll get like kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They'll get like a different actor in each one, and then eventually they'll combine together to form some sort of
super squad,
some sort of Avengers like squad that takes on all of the monsters. I don't know.
You're not far off. I mean, it's obviously all going to still be supernatural, but it'll be action supernatural.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but there was this huge hubbub about this is with Donna Langley, the president or chairwoman of Universal, saying we're taking the horror out of the monsters, and then very quickly, Kurtzman and these writers and all these people with it. No. That she don't listen to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. It's like, okay, well, she's in charge, so I think she knows what she's talking about. But with that being said, there was a rumor that Cruise was being approached to play like a Van Helsing character who could be the Nick Fury, so to speak, of this universe. Which again, maybe he's an ex Navy SEAL who finds out he's part of the Van Helsing bloodline or something. Right. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different ways ways they can go with it. And also, I would argue too that The Mummy doesn't need to be scary. Audiences, I think, still remember the 1999 Mummy movie, but when you get into Dracula, when you get into The Wolfman, when you get into these other films, those I think need to be scary, and I think that's when I'll be curious to see the direction.
I think they all need to be scary, but I mean, it's monster movies.
Right.
So, but you can do it in a way where it's action, it's suspense, it's fun. What they want to do is they're just not saying it. They want to create a ride out of all these. I hate that terminology. It's a movie, it's a story, it's not a ride. I go to Disneyland when I want to get on a ride. But what they're doing is they're trying to turn it into a large $100 million event film and bring the
and sell toys.
Yeah,
sell toys.
But it makes total sense. I mean, because all of these things are public domain. I could make a Frankenstein movie right now, tomorrow. I could rock it out. I could be the monster or the doctor.
You're
whatever.
bold.
But so any one of us can rock out
Yes.
Dracula, whatever we want. It's all public domain. This is just Universal's brand that they want to rebrand because they've already got the 50s old school, the brand that they've got, and they'll always have that. Now they want to rebrand these monsters into something that's relevant. So I'm going to check all of these new ones out.
I want to add one more thing to what you just said, Schnepp, because you are right. These stories are public domain. And that's why you can have Victor Frankenstein or you can have these characters showing up elsewhere and other things. What isn't public domain are the makeup designs, are those classic makeup designs that you associate with these monsters. My question is, if you are trying to update these stories, does Universal actually use the thing that makes their movies special, which are these creature designs, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein's monsters, makeup, the flat top, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how much they're going to incorporate.
It's got to get re-updated. Like, you know what? I love those classic monsters. I loved them when I was a kid. It needs a new, not a new coat of paint, a brand new rethink, a retelling, bring them into the year 2000, into the new millennium. Bring them in, we're in 2016 now. So it's like, I'm totally cool with that. Nothing will ever take away Bride of Frankenstein. I can always watch that whenever I want. I don't need anyone to make a remake of it or a shot-for-shot thing. I want something brand new. So that's how I feel about it.
All right, what's next?
Last month, there were reports that Marvel was in talks with Academy Award-winning actress Cate Blanchett to play an unspecified role in the third movie of the Thor franchise, Thor Ragnarok. According to Geek.com, it looks like Cate Blanchett will be playing the character of Hela. For those of you unfamiliar with Hela, she is the ruler of Hell, the realm reserved for the dead. Schnepp, what do you think about Cate Blanchett playing Hela in Thor Ragnarok?
Absolutely love it. I totally called it too, and they were like, "Who's Cate Blanchett going to play as the Enchantress?" I was like, "Hela, son. She's awesome. She looks like Hela. She's the exact right age to play Hela. She's the perfect actress to play Hela. You have to have that instant, like somebody walks on screen and they instantly have it. She's that person." Hela is the ruler of Niflheim, which is almost the exact opposite of Valhalla. That's where Thor and all of his pals are drinking. They're like, "We're gonna fight forever in Valhalla." That is the Norse mythology idea of heaven, is to constantly have battle and drink
And constantly
sex.
drinking.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds awesome. So what would hell be? You'd be like hanging out, like, shoveling rocks or living in flames, and sometimes they combine ice
Watching
and fire.
They make you watch the Chipmunks movie
They-
over
yeah.
and over on
Yeah,
repeat.
the third one, Chip Stunk or whatever it's called, Chip Road. What is it called? I don't even remember. Cherry chips, whatever it is. Just on constant repeat while you're crying. So
And they open your eyes Clockwork Orange style.
that's right. Throw rotten bananas in there, make kids read horrible troll emails. So that would be Hela. But I'm super excited about it. I think it's a great, Geek.com. You guys better be right. That's all I can say, because I think it's perfect casting.
See, I'm not as familiar with the character as you are, but I'm excited just because Cate Blanchett is one of the best actresses working today, and she's played a villain in Cinderella, and she played it fantastically.
She was in the Crystal Skull.
Well, let's not talk about that one. But in Cinderella, she killed it, and I think having her, especially one of the biggest complaints about Marvel movies are their villains. Only Loki is probably the only memorable one, so maybe she can create another one in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Loki, because in the Marvel comics, she's usually teaming up with Loki, trying to either grab Thor's soul and bring it to Hell, bring it to Niflheim, or to take over Odin's universe. So she's definitely gonna, like, I'm sure Loki, is part of this whole story of bringing about Ragnarok. That's another thing she wants to bring about.
I just got stars in my eyes at the idea of Tom Hiddleston and Cate Blanchett like working together. I just was like, ooh, they're both so attractive and lovely. So I think this is great. I love Cate Blanchett, and actually I got to interview her for Cinderella, and she's got a very wry sense of humor as well. She's a cool lady, and so I love that. And obviously she's an incredible actress, and she's a diverse actress. She can do, I don't think there's anything Cate Blanchett can't do. So I love the addition of her into this world. And also, Thor is a cinematic universe that I think is the one in the Marvel world that could do better. I like those movies a lot, and it's the universe that I want to love the most. And so I think, adding an actress like her, adding a component like this other world, this darker, underworld, essentially. I love these ideas, and so I really want to see this movie.
All right, guys. Now on to buy or sell. Natasha, what do we got?
In other Marvel casting news, Doctor Strange has cast Benedict Wong, who most recently played Jet Propulsion Laboratory Director Bruce Ng, as Doctor Strange's sidekick Wong. The character of Wong, and not to be confused with the actor Benedict Wong, comes from a family of monks, is a martial arts master, and has great knowledge of the dark arts. Doctor Strange is being directed by Scott Derrickson and hits theaters on November 4th. Dennis, buy or sell the casting of Benedict Wong as Wong in Doctor Strange?
Oh, I'm conflicted on this one. I like the actor Benedict Wong. I thought he was great in The Martian. I liked him in Sunshine. I'm just more concerned about the character of Wong himself. I mean, are they going to play him like how he was in the old comic books, being like a manservant to Doctor Strange? Right. That's what concerns me, because I'm telling you, if they call him a manservant in that movie, I'm going to go find Marvel's offices, find a fucking brick, and toss it through their window, because we don't need those kind of stereotypes anymore. So that's my biggest concern. I mean, right now, I don't know. I just don't know if I can buy it yet. I think I'm going to sell it for now and then wait to see what they actually do with it. And also, they've been filming this movie for a while now, so I'm assuming his part is going to be very, very small if they just cast him. Schnepp?
I hope they either shave his head or he wears a baldy cap, because I want the Wong that's in the comics, but I don't want the subservient Fu Manchu, kind of Wong that comes with the 60s stereotype. But I think there were a lot of stories updated in the 80s and 90s, especially the 80s, where he wasn't just like, go get my coffee or whatever. He actually worked with Doctor Strange on like a lot of missions. So hopefully he becomes more of like a cool sidekick, which is what he kind of is. So
Clarke?
Yeah, I know very little about this line of comics, and I'm not a Cumberbitch, so as I said earlier, I'm a Hiddleston kind of girl. So I know very little about this movie, and have, I'm kind of excited to see, because of course Scott Derrickson is behind the scenes. I'm curious to see what his Marvel movie looks like. So in terms of actually knowing about the character beforehand, I don't know much about him, but I think everything you guys said makes perfect sense. It's kind of like the last time that we were on, I was on here, one of the last times, and we talked about Tilda Swinton and her casting. That was here, wasn't it? No, that was Roth's show. Was it?
I don't know. I don't know. We talk about it a lot here as well.
But I mean, this is a really interesting, and Kevin Feige has talked about it, updating these characters that could or may or that probably do have a lot of old-fashioned ideas associated with them, and bringing them into the modern world. And so I think this is really interesting. But as we were saying earlier, I love a lot of the movies that he's been in, and so I'm curious to see him in this one.
I think it's a great way to reintroduce the character Wong into the Doctor Strange cinematic world and not make him a stereotype. So though they're bringing him in and they're keeping his name Wong, and they happen to cast a dude whose also last name is Wong, I think they're going to rock it totally different and make him like a badass.
Well, I'm just hoping Marvel has enough sense to update it and modernize
it. Look what they're doing already. The Ancient One is played by a woman. Baron Mordo's played by an African American. So they're already playing with the stereotypes of the Doctor Strange and flipping it on its head. So why not do it with Wong? So.
All right, guys, now on to our weekly Friday segment, Box Office Predictions, where we predict, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters, where we predict what the top 5 movies of this weekend are going to be. Clarke, let's start off with you. Because we always like starting off with you because you love this game so much.
I love it so much, and I'm also really good at it. I'm so good at it. I'm terrible at it. So here we go. I'll start with my top 5. I am curious. We were talking about this before we started rolling. About Room. Room is a great film, and yet there's still some confusion around it. Like, what is this movie? Is this the worst movie ever made? Why are people talking about Oscars? And it's confusing. I wonder if people will show up. It's a very intense and sad movie, and so I don't know if people would rather see that or if they'd rather go see The Revenant and watch some crazy bear action. So I don't know, but we'll see. So I'm gonna leave Room off actually because I do believe it's opening wide.
Yeah, Clarke, you were talking about The Room when she said, "Is it the worst movie ever?" She's saying, "Do people confuse it with Tommy Wiseau's The Room?" Which I've heard a lot. So.
Right? Yeah. And it's confusing because the title, save for one word, is the same. So okay, number 1, I have The Revenant. Number 2, I have Ride Along 2. Number 3, I'm gonna say Star Wars. So I think we're on the same page, Dennis. Number 4, I'm gonna put Dirty Grandpa with Zac Efron and Bob. Because we're friends.
Yes.
Me and Bob De Niro, besties.
Bobby.
Me and Bobby,
You and Bobby.
as I like to call him. And number 5, I'll put The Boy because that movie looks effing crazy, and I think people usually turn up a little to see horror in January.
Yeah, I have this top same 3: The Revenant, Ride Along 2, and then Star Wars, and then I have The Boy, and then Dirty Grandpa. I think the fifth wave is going to get just too much of a bad word of mouth, and I think The Boy actually looks a little interesting. I know you hated the trailer. I actually think it looks interesting. Schnepp, what do you think?
Looks stupid. The Revenant, number 1. I'd say Star Wars is going to be number 2. Ride Along will be 3. And of the new 3 films coming out, even though I don't want to see it, I'm not going to see it. I think The Boy will get more. I think we had the forest or the trees or whatever, some stupid thing out in the woods, whatever that dumb thing was. So now we got The Boy. Next week will be the girl. We got the Grandpa. Like, oh, Grandpa. I'd rather go see Grandpa than Dirty Grandpa. But I think Dirty Grandpa will be number 5. So it's like The Boy and Dirty Grandpa. And yeah, the fifth wave, my guess is it'll be coming in at like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten traction at all. I don't think people are interested.
We've all seen all of those movies before, a little bit of each one of them that's like sprinkled throughout. So
and like
better versions.
What is it? Shannara Chronicles or whatever just made its way onto MTV, and now you've got the 100 premiered last night. It's like people don't need to go to the movies to see this dystopian YA sci-fi action thing. I mean, in addition to the franchises that already exist, now they're on TV. So it's like, isn't the Mortal Instruments on TV now too?
They're starting that.
So it's just like, why would anybody pay $15 to go? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
you know what's
it'll be
amazing about the
wrong.
Mortal Instruments? That looks worse than the movie. And I saw the movie and it was horrible. But then you see these posters for the Mortal Instruments. All of the people in it just look like they're.
It looks like they took the Golden Compass poster and just plugged in.
It's astonishingly bad. So I don't know. It's unbelievable.
All right, guys. Now, before we get on to mailbag, I want to remind you we're going to take live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video, and Natasha will pick out a few. But let's get on to mailbag. What's the first one?
Yuhan Huth writes, Happy Australia Day, Collider, for the 26th anyway. To celebrate, just wanted to ask who your favorite Australians in the film industry are, in front of the camera, behind the camera, or even Australian films you may have enjoyed. Thanks, and enjoy a communal bloomin' onion with a few shrimps on the barbie.
Right. Some of my favorites are the director John Hillcoat, who did Lawless, The Proposition. He's doing that movie 999 that's coming out soon. Obviously, George Miller, who did Road Warrior and Mad Max Fury Road. And then for actors, we have Cate Blanchett is Australian, Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman, Guy Pearce, Joel Edgerton, those
Yep.
guys. So those are some of my favorites. Schnepp.
I had those guys on my list, so I'll also go to Peter Weir, who did The Truman Show, Witness, Year of Living Dangerously, Dead Poets Society. Did you mention Mel Gibson? He directed Braveheart and one of my favorites, Apocalypto. You got Philip Noyce. He did Dead Calm, The Quiet American, the Harrison Ford Clear and Present Danger. So those are some of the directors. Of course, Alex Proyas. I don't want to leave him out. The Crow and Dark City. So some really talented, great directors. You mentioned a bunch of, I'll list off like Joel Edgerton, Cate Blanchett, Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Emily Browning, Jeffrey Rush, Heath Ledger, Rose Byrne. So those are other insane Australian talent. Literally, it's when you look at all these movie stars from both from England and Australia, you're like, they're all the main movie stars. Where are us Americans?
yeah.
We're just watching it. Who's Superman? He's English, or is he? Who's Wolverine? He's Australian. Yeah, it's
Yes.
like Ryan Reynolds. Is he from Canada?
He's Canada.
We
All
have
right, we have nothing.
Yep.
America.
America.
So Rose Byrne was my big one. I'm such a fangirl for Rose Byrne.
Yeah.
I think she can do it all. And James Wan. Can't forget
yeah.
James Wan.
Totally.
My fave. One of the best, I would argue, one of the best directors working right now. I think he is incredible, and I think he has a career, a long, diverse, interesting career ahead of him.
Did you mention Baz Luhrmann at all?
Oh, yeah,
He's
I forgot.
Australian.
He was on my
Yeah, I
list,
left him
too.
out, but I saw him. Yeah, he's Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
I thought one of you guys would list him.
And
And-
he's,
Oh, go
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think we were going to say the same
No,
thing.
I was going to name some other people.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say the trailer for his show or piece that he's doing on Netflix looks amazing. Baz Luhrmann and Moulin Rouge. I love Moulin Rouge still to this day.
Andrew Dominic, who did Assassination of Jesse James. I think he's Australian. And then David Michaud. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He did Animal Kingdom and The Rover.
Ooh, right.
So
Oh, and Mendelsohn is also Australian.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn, amazing actor.
So
We
apparently,
forgot about our Hemsworths. Did
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
say
No,
Hemsworth?
we
I
didn't
did
say
not
it.
forget.
She did. Natasha was like,
never
"How come
forget.
you didn't mention the Hemsworths?"
I'll take Chris Hemsworth. I really like Chris Hemsworth, and I think he makes funny. Like he is funny
hilarious.
and talented and
Yeah.
very handsome. It's hard to pull off all of those tricks.
Yep. both of
Natasha,
them.
did we leave anyone else off this list?
No, I mean those were the ones I immediately thought of. I'm like Hemsworth brothers, and then after you guys named everyone, you're totally right. I'm like, those are all the biggest movie stars right now. So come on, America, let's go.
Yeah, I think for John Campion and myself, it's Hemsworth brother. One of the
Brother.
brothers.
One.
A singular, yeah.
For favorite brother.
I'm pulling for Liam. I want him to break out of his
Have you seen
little
him
box.
anything that he's actually impressed you in?
No, I haven't. I will admittedly say that, but there's something behind his eyes that makes me think he's funny.
It's called genetics
It's
and being
amazing.
just beautiful.
He's a good-looking guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I have not seen every time that Independence Resurgence trailer, they show I'm like, oh, Bill Pullman's back, Jeff Gold, and then he shows up and I'm like,
Oh, that guy. You cannot believe, but riddle me this. You cannot be engaged to Miley Cyrus twice and not be a cool dude. I just feel like there is something really interesting that
She
we
came
have.
back to you, son.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's
and
got
he,
you.
And
Yeah.
he was like, oh, naked and no hair and the whatever. Into it. Let's do this. So I
Right.
just feel like Liam has a really cool underbelly that we haven't
Let's
seen.
not forget Jai Courtney. He's Australian. That's for Christian
Somebody-
Harloff out there.
No, you know what? Can I just say somebody one time commented and said that I was the Jai Courtney of movie talk, and that is the funniest thing. That made me.
That's
I
right.
still remembered it. I am proud.
That means
of
you're
that.
the secret weapon because everyone's talking about him in Suicide Squad.
He
He was
looks- he
actually
looks
kind of
great
good
in
in that.
Suicide
I know.
Squad.
It's that's the redemption. Is they
Yeah.
get that redemption role.
I'm putting Jai Courtney of movie talk on my business card
Yeah,
from now on.
all right, what's next?
Junior Murillo writes, "Hey guys, big fan of the show here. I was wondering, given the huge love of James Cameron for the underwater world, how great would a Cameron's take on an Aquaman movie be? We already know that the first Aquaman film will be directed by Zack Snyder, but what about a sequel in 2022 or 2023 after the Avatar trilogy? Do you think he would take it? Thank you guys and keep up the great work."
Well, first off, we have to correct you. Zack Snyder is not directing the Aquaman movie. It's James Wan that's directing it. In terms of James Cameron, would he do a fantastic job? I think he would. I mean, all the underwater stuff he's working on in Avatar, I'm sure would apply to Aquaman. But he's not going to do it. James Cameron is one of the few directors in Hollywood that can do whatever he wants. Not most directors don't have that choice. He can do whatever he wants, and both creatively and financially, it's better for him to work on his own stuff because creatively he gets to do what he wants. Financially, look, let's say he does an Aquaman, you probably get a small cut of the back end. Remember, because it's a DC property, Warner Brothers, Aquaman. When he creates something like Avatar, he's getting a larger chunk of that money at the back end because he created it. So what do you guys think?
Well, me and Clark were just whispering about, didn't he already direct Aquaman and Entourage? Yeah, Cameron already rocked that son. That was years ago. We already did that,
Vinny
man.
Chase.
Yeah.
I leaned over to Schnepp and I was like, didn't he do that in Entourage?
We were like, that's right. Totally rocked it already. That's in an alternate universe, like the Flash like runs over to Earth 3 and you've already seen Cameron sitting on I've already directing Aquaman 3, Throne of Atlantis or whatever. So yeah, no, in the world we live in now, hell no, he's not going to direct Aquaman. He's going to do Battle Angel, Alita before he does any DC or Marvel character. I mean, he was attached to Spider-Man back in in the late 80s. He wrote a script for it, and that's as close as he's ever gotten to doing any of these Marvel films. Because after that, he went on and did Terminator and Aliens, and obviously the rest is history. True Lies. All the rest of his films have all been giant hits, and cumulatively now to then Titanic and Avatar. So now he's going to be invested in the Avatar world for the next 5 or 6 years. You can never say never. I'm not saying. I guess I should say maybe he'll direct one in the future, but I don't think it'll be Aquaman.
Yeah, and also I just feel like, I don't know, tonally, I'm not sure if James Cameron is the right choice for this current DC cinematic universe. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. At least he's not the name or a name that I would be thinking. I feel like this universe is going after young, edgy, rock and roll kind of storytelling, whereas Cameron, I think, has... I don't know. Would you guys say he's sort of calmed down is not the right word, but he's not making Terminator and Aliens anymore. He's making different kinds of movies. I would argue, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I would totally put him in there.
For the last decade, he's only making one movie. It's
That's
Avatar.
True.
He's just living in Na'vi land. And, I'm making the oceanscape of this and designing weird flipper creatures. He's living in that. And that's all-encompassing. I can't wait to see the new Avatars because you're right, Dennis. Earlier you mentioned that movie was the movie that everyone was like, did you see that film? Because the 3D was so freaking awesome. Because it was made to be experienced in the theater in 3D. And most of these other movies now are post-converted. There's some stupid shot of a thing flying at you. You're like, this is garbage, and why am I wearing these extra glasses? I already have glasses. I have to put glasses on top.
Glasses on
it
my
sucks.
glasses is the worst.
Anyway, I'm not a big fan of 3D, but I cannot wait for his version of 3D because it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and also I can't see him working in that kind of Marvel or DC studio system. This guy has free reign to do whatever he wants. Is someone going to tell him oh no, you can't do that, James Cameron, or you've got to change this or change that? It's no, he does whatever he wants. So
I will add though that I would like to see a James Cameron Jason Momoa collaboration. Now I think that could be pretty cool. I think Momoa and him together could really maybe do some cool action shit, but I don't know if Aquaman is where I would put him.
Terminator 67.
Right. The new low budget, super weird, I've got a GoPro on my head Terminator. So
I don't ever want to see that Terminator.
All right, guys, that's it for Mailbag. Now on to our live Twitter questions. Natasha, what do we got?
Todd McGregory asks, I already asked this with Campia, Schnepp, and Ellis, but what superpowers do you want for Clark and Dennis?
Oh.
I don't know. Who was talking about they wanted to be invisible because they want to go peep
that's
at
Ellis.
He's like, I just want to look at women naked
Kareem.
and invisible.
Yeah, that's my Ellis impersonation.
Does Mark Ellis not have the internet? Because he could do that without being invisible.
No, but he wants to actually be there. Oh, she's walking past me. Oh, she almost touched me. That's Ellis right there.
I don't know. Probably flight, because my biggest thing right now is I love to travel in the sense of I love going to new places, experiencing new cultures, new food, all that stuff. I actually hate flying. I don't like flying. It's too long. I'm afraid of heights. Just everything about it I don't like. So if I could fly myself and just go and then just be transported right to where I wanted to go, it'd be awesome.
I want that sound to happen when you fly.
Exactly. I think for me, flying is always a good one. I think for me, I might say the ability to maybe be in two places at once. like to split and do, because I could accomplish more.
I want the power to make Ellis visible whenever I decide. Like I can track
he's
him.
invisible, and then you're like, visible.
Visible. He'd be like, "Hi, what's happening?" It's my superpower.
He's like naked with underwear, eating
Yeah.
like peanut butter or something like that.
Or cover him in peanut butter really quickly and then make him visible. Like the power to mess with Ellis. That's what the power
I might
is.
also like to be able to Jedi mind trick and be like, these are not the droids you're looking for. Like that could be kind of cool to be able to sort of be like, nope, let me do this.
Yeah, just to have the force.
basically. I think I would like to
So
have the
you
force.
so you want to be the purple man from Jessica Jones?
Damn, that's a rough one. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Though. So you want to be evil is what Dennis is saying.
No, I want to be Rey. How about that?
Bam!
All right, what's next?
Okay. Topaz Ingenious writes, will there be safety measures for when an actor takes a commitment to a role too far?
I don't know. I think that's just more of the director having to monitor the actor. But I mean, who's going to tell someone like Daniel Day-Lewis what he should be doing?
Or Tom Cruise, like, don't hang off the side of that plane. You can't because he's also producing. It's like, you're fired. It's like, I'm
Exactly.
hanging off the end of this plane. I think it's like when actors do that, there are so many safety precautions that they put. Like Tom Cruise was hanging off the end of that plane, but he was strapped in, and there was like definitely like even if he slipped off or fell, he wouldn't have fallen to his death. He had like a lot of wires that are painted out. So they're doing these things, they're taking risks, but there's so much additional extra safety that's put on around the actor that's risking just to be able to put that shot on film and not have it be like, oh, that's a stunt double, to see that it's actually the real person doing those stunts. They do all those additional extra precautions. You better believe, like, watch the behind the scenes on the Mad Max Fury Road. Like, they had so much extra precaution set up before they blew that one tank or did, they really, it's the safety is the biggest stress on all those kinds of things.
They take out insurance too. I mean, there's insurance precautions and training. I mean, most productions, especially high profile productions, really, really put their talent into training first. And I think when you have someone like Tom Cruise, who is sort of known for being an extreme athlete in a lot of ways, I mean, obviously he's the biggest movie star, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, but it's not like this is the first time he's ever done that.
Yeah, and it's also, these are big budget films, so they have the money to put in those resources for precautions and insurance, where I think the biggest concern is for these indie films. I mean, where they're trying to cut corners everywhere, and safety is one of the corners that a lot of independent productions cuts, because they're like, oh, well, nothing's going to happen, but you never.
A director's in
never know.
jail right now for
Yeah,
like
for
that
the
one.
Sarah Jones case.
I mean, so there's, and he was denied, getting out early. It's like people, there are people who cut corners, and like that's just such a rare example, though. Like most people who are like working with actors are going to take those extra precautions because that's just the way you should do it. You shouldn't be like, yeah, let's risk you fighting with the sword and not practice. It's like that would be stupid.
All right, what's next?
Fernando Fernandez writes, will Deadpool suffer because of Zoolander 2 and How to Be Single releasing in the same weekend?
I don't think so. More Zoolander than How to Be Single. I don't know if that has much of a crossover.
Yeah, I didn't hear that How to Be Single was coming out, but that just might get some of that spillover because Deadpool and Zoolander 2 will be sold out. People are like, I guess we're going to go see How to Be Single. And by the way, you got to check out that new Deadpool Australian, because today's Australia Day. We're talking about all these Australians.
That's right.
Today is actually Australia Day, and Deadpool put out a very special commercial for all you sweaties, so you should definitely check it out. It's really funny.
Yeah, I don't think think there's a major crossover between Zoolander and Deadpool. I think you're getting very, very, very different things when you sign up for both of those films, and so I don't think that it's going to lose out mostly to Zoolander. I am excited to see both of those movies, though.
It's a good double feature.
Exactly, I'm in.
All right, what's next?
Clifford Fawcett asks, have you heard of the fate of Fantastic Four? If not, what are your hopes for the franchise?
I think it got pulled off of the release schedule, much like how Terminator Genesis just got pulled. So it's not, they haven't officially canceled or anything, but remember, this is a case where they have to have the sequel in production by a certain date, otherwise the rights revert back to Marvel. So if they've pulled it, they probably, most likely I think it's going to go back to Marvel, but they're just kind of weighing their options right now.
Yeah, it's on ice right now. I mean, they pulled the second, the announced sequel that's supposed to come out in a year and a half or something. That's not going to happen. The comic book's on ice. There's a lot of, not fun feelings going on back and forth between Fox and Marvel, especially over that property. So I think the fate of the Fantastic Four is it's in some kind of weird sub-dimensional freeze chamber for a while.
It's fascinating to me that it's really hard to get this right. It seems to be very hard to get this movie right for Fox, and I don't understand why. I recently watched it on a plane, like after hearing about all the everything. It is not good. Like, and I know this is not a revelation, like spoiler alert, Fantastic Four isn't good, but it's just like I heard it was so good and I was like, or bad, and I was like, there's no way it could be this bad.
Well, the first half for me wasn't that bad. It was once they hit that midway point when it's like 1 year later or whatever,
It's
2
just
years, and then it just
boring
goes.
But see, that's what happens when you're seeing a movie where everyone says it sucks, and you're watching the first like half hour or so, and you're like, it's not that bad. It's not like startlingly amazing. But then when it starts to suck, it makes it suck more because you're like,
They were right.
you're waiting. You're like, everyone told me it's gonna suck, but then you're watching it, and you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad, and then it starts to really suck, and it gets suckier. So it's like, all the Doctor Doom stuff, garbage man, Doctor Doom is like it's insanity. You're like. That's one of those things. Everyone is always asking me, like, you should do a what happened on Fantastic Four. It's like, no, it's like a what happened thing is like if something that didn't get made. This actually got made, and really all it is, it's indicative of studio meddling at its worst. I mean, you'll always hear about, Wolverine Origins where the idiot had Deadpool's mouth sewn shut, and everyone was like, I know, but that's part of the characters. He has the merc with the mouth and the moron. So you're like, not only that, Wolverine Origins already has so many horrible bad things about it as a bad film, but it's not even in the same level of Fantastic Four where studio meddling comes to a brand new horror, like you're in a torture zone. The things I've heard is like, really, that's not really a movie. That's like some kind of prison where you just trying to fight your way out. Like, I'm forced to finish this film with these idiots. It sounds horrible. Like, so there's somebody, I'd love to read a book about that. It's a totally different thing.
All right, what's next?
All right, well, speaking of studio meddling, which movie, or Jonathan Peck asks, which movies have been ruined by studio interference, in your guys' opinion?
Like I just mentioned, I think Wolverine Origins was completely ruined. Gavin Hood had to have his entire sets repainted because some studio dude was like, I don't know if I like that the way it's colored blue there. Repaint everything orange. I mean, I've heard so many incredible, horrible stories. So many films get ruined by people who don't know the source material, and then they're just kind of like making random decisions. So,
yeah, historically, the thing that comes to mind is Rebecca. Not to say that got ruined because it's a classic, but Selznick and Hitchcock, there was lots of meddling to the point where allegedly when Hitchcock made Rope, he shot it so it looked like it was all one take, so that nothing that happened in Rebecca could ever happen again. Meaning you can't go in and change my cut, you can't go in and add new things and do reshoots because it's one take, which I think is interesting. I've also thinking about like endings that have been changed, like where you clearly can be like, oh my God, this is absolutely a studio reshoot. I don't know if this is true or not, but I actually, for the most part, enjoyed the new Poltergeist movie, Gil Kenan's movie. But when we got to the end and the family tries to leave, that whole last 15 minutes, I was like, there is no way this is the original ending of this movie. Like, it's obvious a reshoot. It's obviously a reshoot. And I hate stuff like that, but...
I can't think. I mean, I thought of Wolverine Origins and obviously Fantastic Four. I don't know about the studio interference for this movie, but I know what's the director's name that did Donnie Darko?
Oh, Richard Kelly.
Richard Kelly. He did that movie, The Box,
The
or
Box,
whatever.
yeah.
There's a scene where you can tell a whole chunk of the movie is yanked out of it. I don't know if it was his choice or the studio's choice, but it makes no sense whatsoever. They just cut from, I think, some scene where James Marsden goes into this big warehouse, and then they cut it to later where he's just like, they throw him out or something like to that effect, where there's a big chunk missing.
Kingdom of Heaven, Ridley Scott's film that was released, I think it was released as like some kind of 90-minute version, and I never saw it in the theater, but everyone said it didn't make any sense. It was a box office bomb. Years later, his director's cut comes out. It's like over 3 hours long, and he reinstated all these scenes, and actually not only makes sense, it's actually a good film. So it's sort of one of those things where he was forced to cut out so many different things. Like you would never know these people are related. It's so much stuff that like hinges on the way the story is told.
Famously, also with Ridley Scott Blade Runner. I mean, I've actually only seen the theatrical cut that has the voiceover added. And to be honest with you, I don't love it, but everybody I talk to says, no. You have to see the director's cut because the studio is what made him go in, do this VO, add all this stuff on top to try and explain it better for the audience. And most Blade Runner purists kind of say like that is a great example of studios coming in and totally messing it up.
But that's more like, it's a little more window dressing for me. Like I like both versions. I could see why they added it because a lot of times studios are like, look, our audience is dumb. We need to spoon feed them. We need to make sure they know. Like when Dune came out, they gave everybody a glossary. Like, what is a Bene Gesserit? I mean, like, look, if you're watching the movie, it almost doesn't matter what they're called. You get, as just a normal human being with a regular brain, it's not that hard to figure out. But I think studios are always like freaked out, especially by science fiction and things like that. So the Blade Runner thing, you can watch it with or without the narration. They didn't actually change the actual edits.
Interesting.
Well, there's a side note to that. That's why I always harp on that Zootopia trailer. I don't understand why they need to explain to the audience that these animals are like, oh, they're like you and they live in the real world and they got cell phones and they drive. It's like, just show the stupid thing and you know that right away. A 4-year-old can figure that out. Why
That's
do you
like a rhino looks like a cop. Wait, let me explain it to you, little children.
They live in a real world, but
it's
they're
like
not.
us, but we're animals. Yeah.
I do
All right.
love the sloths, though. The sloths were great. Those are my favorite.
All right, last one.
Nerd for Hire asks, should studios rework how they send out screenings to critics? There has been a lot of leaks of some big budget movies.
Screenings or
Screeners.
I think you can't get around it because like they need to send those out for people to vote on. They can't expect every Academy member to go out to the theater to watch every single movie on the list, so they have to send them screeners. And
nowadays, like they give you the choice. Like I'm in the DGA, so I get screeners, and they give you the choice. You could either get them, like you could watch them electronically, or you can go to the theater, or you can get a screener. And I think a lot of the people, especially the Academy, are much older. A lot of them are not computer savvy, so they're not going to be able to like, what's my log on? Not like they're stupid. I'm just saying they probably don't use the computer as much. And screeners are just like that everyone has DVDs. They're not sending out Blu-rays. It's just a DVD. So it makes it a lot easier to be able to watch the film at home if you're not going to be able to go out to. But they really give you a chance to go to every theater. It's like every single movie is playing like for like 35 days. You could pick a day to go see it. So, I mean, I think next year, especially because of the situation that happened with The Hateful Eight, and that really did hurt its box office. I mean, I think the idea of like torrenting there's no way to stop it. Everybody's movie's torrented. My film has been torrented. Everybody who does anything media-wise, music, TV, movies, people are just stealing it. So, that's why there's the SVOD market where it's like, look, people are going to get Netflix. You have to pay for it. It's like those things are happening. And, with films, I think, you'll see more digital, less so home video screeners next year, but they're going to keep doing it for the next few years.
It's a weird push and pull too, because I'm not a member of of a voting party, but as a person who like sees movies, talks about movies, helps promote movies, I find it goes both ways. Like a lot of times people are really rigid about their screenings, like you have to come to this day or you don't see it. And it's kind of like, well, on the other hand, if you want people to see your movie, you need to make it more readily accessible than 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. Right. It's like, so it's this weird like push and pull. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see more digital screeners. I'm already seeing more digital screeners. The thing is though, they have your name and it's like a screensaver, like it's bouncing across the window. And I'm just like, I can't focus on this movie because they are going so far to the other side to protect this from being pirated. Or if it were pirated, it'd have my name all over it so they'd know where to find it, but it's obnoxious.
All right, guys, that's it for today's and this week's last Collider movie talk. I want to thank the people joining us at the table. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. You can find my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, by going to tdoslwh.com. Take care.
Clarke?
You guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, and on youtube.com/official Clarke Wolfe. And thank you for having me.
Natasha, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Natasha A. Martinez and on Twitter at NatashaLexis_.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Don't forget to subscribe to this Collider Videos channel on YouTube, youtube.com/Collider Videos. And also visit our friends at amctheaters.com. They've got movies and showtimes and tickets for all the movies coming out and are in theater right now. And we will see you guys next week.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.